Hi, everyone. Welcome. Oh, we have a special guest, but all of you are special guests too. How about that? Yeah, really nice. How's everybody? How's your day? We'll formally start in a moment. Thanks. Molly, how are you this morning? Sonia, definitely this morning.
Yeah,
Susan, midday. Yeah. Kara, how's everybody today?
I'm fantastic. I get to be here with you, all of you. I love
That's
this.
right.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Yeah. And we're better for it, Tricia. Yeah, let's give it another moment. Yes. I am so excited about this topic because, and I'll say this formally when we start our program officially, but Tricia, when I think about how to sharpen a strategic edge, like your picture is right there. Just
Thanks.
how do you do it? And so yeah, you've
It's
got
it's
that edge, you got it down because you're faced with that every day, like all
it's
of us.
definitely a love language, and it's so interesting as we get older, right? The experience and the steadiness of how to be strategic in the noise and storms, um, with people that are at all different stages of their, life experience and businesses and so on. It's really fascinating. I always
Mhm.
think of a Rubik's Cube, you know? It's
Yes,
like you
yes.
get one side and you're just like, nice. And then you have to screw it up to get the second side, and so on. Uh, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think we've got the analogies and we could do a mic drop here. How's that? So yes, let's get formally started. Good. Okay, great. Welcome to all of you. So delighted that you're here. Thank you. And to all of our wonderful women in the C-suite network, Women's Coaching and Consulting Council, welcome. And to all of you watching our replay, our broadcasts, we're so thrilled that are global. People are watching our broadcasts, and we get the great privilege to feature Tricia Benn today. And I'm so excited. We've been planning this program for a very long time, kind of simmering in it and percolating in it. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Tricia in just a moment. I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of C-Suite Networks, Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. I've been a coach for a very long time and a consultant, and I'm passionate about bringing coaching out to the world in a global way and to support our coaches and consultants because you've heard me say this before, 8 billion people on the planet. And I think everyone should have a coach or two to move their life in a positive direction. And so I'm a speaker and author, and I love all things coaching. And so, to also let you know, we've had some incredible programs as usual. And just to kind of flip through to give some visibility to all of our esteemed faculty members who have done programs, we are committed to programs that move businesses and lives forward and have that strategic edge. So thank you to Deb Creer talking about adversity, Carol Kammerer talking about LinkedIn. How do you optimize your LinkedIn? We're forming a Gent Alliance. Did you know? Generous, enthusiastic, noble, and tenacious, gathering the men and those who identify as men to come into our council, partner with us for more strategic alliance. So we had a great program on that. Liz Luckett talked about how to amplify your voice. Be sure to watch the replay because Liz incorporated poetry into our program. It was gorgeous. Kathy Dirksen, Sheila Anderson talk about reinvention, really great. And of course, Christina DiGiacomo, AI for Trailblazers. You're here, you are a trailblazer. Gloria St. Martin Lowry talked about how to build allies and advocates in our corporate clients, our associations, organizations, and clients. And of course, Sheila Anderson talked about perseverance. And don't we all need to have more of that in today's world? So today I get the great privilege to introduce Tricia Benn. She is the CEO of C-Suite Network. Tricia comes to us with many decades, although she doesn't look it because she's the youngest looking CEO, youngest mindset CEO I've ever met that has the receipts, so to speak. Tricia has extensive experience in telecom, into technology, into all kinds of fantastic corporate businesses. And Tricia brings all of that experience into C-Suite Network. creating alliances, and ultimately sharpening our strategic edge. And so with this, I'd love to turn this over to you, Tricia, and let's get the conversation going. We really want to make this kind of a fireside chat, so to speak. We're sitting around a campfire or we're sitting around the Ritz-Carlton having a toddy talking to you about how do we sharpen our strategic edge. So
Thank you.
Tricia, thank you for being here.
Thank you
And
so much,
let's
Kathleen.
lean in and unmute ourselves and give Tricia a little round of applause. How's that? Yeah,
Woo!
we'd be doing that, around the campfire, around the bonfire with you as well.
It started to cool
So
down
Tricia,
where I am today, so I feel like I could use that hot toddy in the fireplace.
well, we'll be visualizing that, right? As
Perfect.
strategic. Yes, yes. Yeah, Tricia, you bring so much corporate wisdom and so much wisdom from your experience in nonprofit boards, all of the just your international travel, everything that you've been doing personally and professionally. You bring all of that to our strategic thinking. And so just love to get the conversation started with you, and let's make this interactive as well. Is what does it really mean to you today in today's world to have a strategic edge, to be more strategic in our thinking, in our mindset, in our actions? What are your thoughts about that?
Kathleen, I can't help thinking that being strategic in our mindset is really about the whole brand promise that we're committed to in C-suite, which is and also, my podcast, my TV show is C-suite success. It's about how we create real success. And so when you're looking at strategy, what's really creating value, there's no measurement, there's no way to gauge that if you're not really clear on what success looks like. And ironically, there's a lot of activity that happens that has nothing to do with real success. And I don't mean just numbers. And I know, we can have a whole conversation about that, but success and the mission that we're promised to deliver on, that is absolutely the cornerstone of really getting into and honing in on what strategic success is going to look like.
Yeah. And, how does being strategic and keeping that edge, because, in a sea of businesses, in a sea of thought leaders and media companies, how do you, as leading C-suite network, how do you keep your strategic edge? What are the things that you're doing?
So the things that we're doing on a constant basis is always opening the aperture. What else is happening? What's working? And frequently we can get caught in a group think, right? This is what's done in this industry. This is what we've always done in our company. This is what this person's really good at. As opposed to what else is happening out there? What are similar types of challenges or problems that are being addressed? Different industries, different companies, different sizes of companies, public versus private. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at a problem and solve for a problem. And obviously we want that aperture open as wide as possible in terms of what is working. And that's another thing, is what's really working. And, again, there's a lot of noise and a lot that will tell you, oh, this is working. You've got to be really discerning. And that's why the connectivity, the network, your community is so critical. By extension, how do you know it really is working? And do you have somebody inside that space that can say, actually, I was at that event, or I've been part of that group, or, I worked in that company or that model, and I can share that. So first and foremost, it's keeping that aperture open. And I think what's absolutely critical is appreciating the strengths that others bring to the table, the experience they have, the expertise they have, those communities that they're connected into, and so on, and really ensuring that you're wide open to what is now, as opposed to that hyperbole of what used to be. I'm not a big fan of going back.
Yeah. And that's certainly part of who you are and your mindset. And I'm also curious, how challenges, we've all got them. We're always dealing with them and solving for solutions. I'm just kind of curious if you'd share with us an experience of a challenge, that really you were able to turn into an opportunity or really use that strategic edge thinking that you have.
Yeah. You know, I think a big thing, and for me, Kathleen, you know this, I'm very mission driven. I'm about serving people that I can know, love, trust to create success for others. And so when you're mission driven, solving problems becomes an opportunity. And you have to be careful. You can't create the problems, and because there are people who do that too. But big challenges, in the C-suite story, it would be celebrates, right? When COVID happened, oh my goodness, what do you do when you're an events-based group, which at that point we were, we're not now. There's so much more to the whole ecosystem and platform of C-suite network. But then we were very much events-based. So what do you do when the whole world shuts down and you can't travel and you can't host in-person events? Well, celebrates, our Friday evening get together, became the answer to that. A community time where everybody could count on being known, heard, loved, supported, celebrated. And here we are at 212 Fridays under our belt together. And Kathleen, thank you so much. I know you've co-hosted or hosted many Fridays, and Susan Younger's here and has done that as well. It's so appreciated. It takes a whole family and a community to pull off something like that. And Kara Rodriguez is here, the producer of that. And again, wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have Kara's support over the last number of years. But that's a great example where it was an enormous challenge, a lot of pain. And we created an opportunity where we developed our virtual community in a really connective way. And to this day, and that was from 1 month after COVID shutdown started. So to this day, if you come onto a Friday, people have their videos on. We don't have those events where there's no video on and and there's not real connection. It's become an extension of our in-person connections through the virtual augmentation kind of a thing. And that's been wonderful to watch as well. Some people have said they don't like having to get on another Zoom call. When the Zoom call means that I get to be with you, Kathleen, when otherwise I'd have to wait till I'm coming to Chicago again, and you happen to be in Chicago when I'm there, so this is just such a joy and such an incredible opportunity. There are others, and I think this is something again where your passion for coaching and mentoring and consulting, Kathleen, the steadiness of having gone through challenges. When I was with Rogers, we had the challenge of all of our media assets taking a massive hit in advertising because print advertising was decreasing drastically. And when I came on to the Rogers Media Company as a senior director there, I took supplier side market research capabilities and brought that inside to a client side offering that augmented what they were already spending money on. So they already had all of the directories for every profession and many industries. They already had events in many professions and industries. They already had the experts and the associations and all of those connections. And what I was able to do is add in the insights and market research component to create advisory boards and benchmark studies and all kinds of things that generated millions and millions of dollars of new revenue at a time when that business really needed it. So it just taking advantage of a disruption, creating an opportunity and a new business model. At that point, nobody had brought supplier side research onto client side and charged for us. So it was very, very cutting edge. Before that, I was in public affairs consulting. It was a burn and churn model. Think barely past Mad Men era. Burn and churn. You bring people in, you spit, you chew them up, you spit them out. My whole thing was, oh, okay, we need to make money. Great. I'm going to create an incredibly diverse team that will truly serve our clients. And when the 2007, 2008 financial crisis happened, we had more clients bringing and spending more money with us than having to cut back because they knew being in crisis, they could come to my team and be served and helped through a very challenging communications environment where we didn't really know what was going to happen and where things would land. So those are examples, Kathleen. It really is a passion of mine to really settle in and see where the opportunities are in the disruption or the pain, or where there is the opportunity to really kind of put on that hero's cape of I can help solve this, right? Together we can figure this out and get somewhere even better with the disruption.
And Tricia, this is like in your DNA. And I've known you for over 9 years now, and it's part of who you are. But also, I think to raise your awareness, raise the awareness of everyone here that you've created double digit year after year growth in your career, C-suite network, and all of the positions that you've had, the roles you've had in corporate America as well. I'm just curious what drives that for you, that growth, that commitment, that like, here's where we're going. And come on, people, we're going. The commander's challenge, right?
Yes, I love it passionately. So very early on in that public affairs team, I realized great work teams create meaning, purpose, a sense of being valued and appreciated, understanding where you sit and what you contribute and how that has real impact in the world. And then, my teams, we would always be volunteering. We do the soup kitchens and, different things like that. We'd give back and we really won together. That team, we had more family photos than I've ever had of my immediate family. I mean, it was so powerful and such a great lesson. And ironically, as we go forward, when people say to me, what's it like being the CEO of C-Suite Network? I frequently will say it's just like any other team leader. It's just like any other team leader. It just so happens that everyone I get to work with happens to own their own or many businesses, sits on many boards, and all kinds of communities are led by the people I get to lead, work with. But it's all part of a team dedicated to creating successful business models that are sustainable to deliver real impact and success for the people we serve. And that I will never get tired of that as a mission. I wouldn't care if I was the CEO of a pesticide company, the CEO of a financial institution, the CEO of an entertainment center. I don't care what the business is. The fact of the matter is that's the real mission, and that's who I'm dedicated to serving. And everyone here and everyone who's listening, I know everyone here and everyone who's listening, I do hope that you understand that's the power of the mission that you own and have the ability to deliver against. And I think that's also why my glass is always half full, even when I am frustrated, challenged, having a not so great day. That's what keeps my glass half full, always.
Fantastic. I mean, sisters, this is a master class right here in business success, life success. I'm curious. I would like to take a little pause, open up the conversation. What questions do you have of Tricia? And I'll put a question mark. And then also, what's emerging for you in what you're hearing from Tricia? Time to digest a little bit, right? Jump in, unmute yourself, just jump right in.
I'll jump right in.
Yeah,
Tricia,
Kathy
it's
Dirksen, thank you.
always wonderful hanging out with you. I think we've been hanging out a few times this week already, but and thank you for all the things that you've brought into C-Suite Network. It seems like every other week there's a new announcement of now we've added books, now we've added podcasts, now we've added this and that and the other thing, and just kind of wondering, so what's next?
Oh my goodness, Kathy, that's a great question. This is something that is blood, sweat, and tears. And I know we could all relate to this. When you're building a business or when you're delivering to a business, if you're an executive of a large organization, it is you. People will say, keep personal separate. This is your lifetime. So whatever. I don't even know what to say to that. So one of my conditions of satisfaction is that I want to add things that I know will serve. So I'm always looking for, first, great people. So people I can know, love, trust, and run with. And that's absolutely critical. There's no faster killer of business or massive hiccups that can be devastating to a business than bad people and bad relationships. And that's number one. And number two, those that know an industry well enough to be able to be disruptive to create real value. So Kathy, I know you know the publishing space. That was actually the first division that we added in of C-suite, and that was a commitment to seeing publishing done in a way that serves the authors and respects their IP. You know, so in the publishing industry, there are some things that happen that one could argue are not serving the author, right? And those who operate in the publishing world know that, and they either take advantage of it or they're disrupting. And I know you're on the disrupting side where you want to create real value. You want to see women succeed with their IP and showcase them, elevate them, give them more platform for their voice. And so that's a very specific example and a good example of what I'm looking for and what my conditions of satisfaction are. The other thing is the value prop. So being part of C-suite, we can create flow because we've got such a wide reach across our whole media platform of digital, audio, video, live events, and so much more incredible leaders that are leading across the whole platform of C-suite and so on. So creating that flow, I want to look for partners that will work with me and my team to create real value against what's being charged. So, you know, our publishing solutions are very, very affordable. And that's intentional for most of us in business. If we're looking at a book, we're looking at a book that will serve our purposes, but not bankrupt us, you know, and something that can be done in a time frame that makes sense so we can move on to actually use the book effectively. So those are things that I'm looking for always. Right now, our big campaign, our big release is how we are further building and distributing audio and video content. So that's our Go Big campaign. So that's happening. And I'm in constant conversations. We've got an executive search and support company coming on board. Very excited about that. We've got I just got off the call with the Private Directors Association CEO. We hosted a first event together a couple of weeks ago in Chicago. It was incredible. I'm so excited to be further into conversations about how we'll partner, and we're definitely going to be doing their national conference again together next year with more. But we're also looking at other ways that we can partner and serve so that our C-suite network leaders can get that membership and support of the Private Directors Association, and the Private Directors Association will be supported by us as well. So those are some of the things that come to mind immediately, but it is pretty much, I would say those kinds of conversations are at least a third to a half of my day.
Yeah, collaboration. And thank you, Kathy. Great lead in. And, you know, one of the things, Tricia, that we also wanted to highlight is it's like your mantra, your motto, how you do business is measuring success beyond the numbers. Because I think sometimes the numbers are the numbers, and the numbers can be inspiring, motivating, but also frustrating. So, and growth is not always like this. So it's measured in different ways. So love to get your point of view on how do you measure success beyond just the numbers, whatever those numbers are. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the business side of things, I am a stickler for having the numbers. And as an executive, as a business owner, you have to be close to and love your numbers. I just spent time with my CFO today going through, where are we generating revenue? Where are our costs coming in from? What does that all look like? What is the value we're giving against these different parts of our subscriptions and so on? That's something that is not a pressing question right now because I need to make a decision in this minute, but something I want to be close to feeling all the time and understanding as we're looking at bigger picture, how we're developing and building out different services across C-suite network and supporting our leaders. When it comes to it, so I cannot emphasize that enough. Close to your financials. If you're the head of HR at a $3 billion or $30 billion company, stay close to your financials. It is absolutely critical if you're not mission aligned on the financials. So that's one. You have to have a sustainable business model and success measured and reported and worked to be able to create success. So that's fundamental. But beyond the numbers, I will say there's so much that's absolutely critical that you don't see, you don't measure. So for example, I mentioned the team that I built at Rogers. What an incredible team. And there were so many things that were unmeasurable in terms of the satisfaction, the conditions of satisfaction that I had and that each of my teammates had in building out that practice. And that's the intangible that's incredibly valuable, because so frequently leaders will rely only on the numbers and not understand things like when there is that alignment of mission, when there's a passion for how we're delivering success, when there's that pride of, being valued and valuing others and creating something that isn't out there otherwise, problems are solved so much easier. And there's no real way to measure that. We all know what it feels like, and we all know that feeling of ease and working through challenges with people love, trust, to work through those challenges and move faster through them. When you're looking at data alone, there's no real way to measure that. And that's something where certainly conditions of satisfaction for a team, for each team member, is really important. I also think it's really important to be looking at that individually as well. What are your conditions of satisfaction? I have a schedule, and I know everybody who would want to protect me or coach me in terms of my time and life balance and so on would say, this is crazy, Tricia, no. But the truth of the matter is I have an outrageous day every single day. Every single day I have at least 16, if not 20 something meetings scheduled, events, speaking engagements, flights, etc. It is a full on schedule all the time, but I do have conditions of satisfaction that are absolutely critical to me. And the reasons I can break my own rules. So things like, I must have a meaningful conversation every day. That's who I am as a human. And if I'm in a meaningful conversation and I can push something else around, then I will stay on that call to complete that meaningful conversation. It really matters to me. I'm not an automaton. I never will be. And everybody who knows me well enough to know if something's happening with them, I'm not going to say, okay, time's up, see you later. I'm going to say, listen, I'm with you. And in a worst case scenario, I had to be here at this time, obviously, I would say, I need to call you back, and I've got to do this one thing and then I'll call you back. But that's a condition of satisfaction I can meet no matter where I am, no matter who I'm with, no matter if I'm on vacation or in the biggest working day I've got. So those personal conditions of satisfaction are absolutely critical. And again, keeping aligned to them, because so many things that I see that are not okay, people who are pulled into things that are not good for them from a business perspective, from a personal perspective, and so on, it's because they're drawn to something that actually wouldn't be valuable to them if they thought about what creates value for them. So, Kathleen, my business partner, our chairman and founder, Jeffrey Hazlett, he'll frequently say, fortune or fame. And of course, the right answer is fortune, because you can buy fame, right? If you really want that. But so frequently you'll see people go for fame, which at the end of the day isn't their condition of satisfaction. And so I'm very conscientious of those things. And I think it's so important. The other thing is people judging or going by other people's version of success. And again, this is something where every day I am so ecstatic to learn what everyone I work with's mission is, what is success for them. And for me, the exciting thing about the C-suite platform is you can plug into that platform in our ecosystem, and you can be the owner of your own consulting group with 5 clients in the year, and that's success, and it's what you want and need in your life and enjoy in your life. That all the way over to the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. You can plug into C-suite and see success. And that's the goal of that, is to level that playing field of having the platform where whatever is done at excellence is able to be offered to the success of the person who is engaged in C-suite. So these are things that I think are just so critical, and really evaluating what success looks like for you as an individual, not someone else's version of it or perception of it or judgment of it. Who cares? Is my absolute standard response for that. It makes no difference. And I was reminded yesterday, somebody had asked me some questions, and it reminded me of a quote that I've used for many years, given to me by a mentor in my 20s. I said, Tricia, the world cemeteries are filled with the most important people. It's critical. We own our lives, we own our experience, and we own what success is and the definition of that, and then being able to live it.
So agree. And one of your other favorite quotes that I use all the time, and I give you attribution, is let's not try to boil the ocean.
Yeah.
What's the next step here? So, yeah. So I'm curious, coming out to our participants, our attendees, our esteemed faculty members, I'd like to just put a little pause here and say, hey, many of us have, our clients are women like Tricia Benn, and they're CEOs, they're high powered, very, very busy with big missions and big visions. I'm curious what's emerging for you about approaching someone like Tricia. What would be some key, we'll do a little interactive here, because I want you to take away not only strategies for you, but how can you apply Tricia's mindset to your success? So, I mean, I feel like already asking my clients about what are her conditions of success. How does she gauging? How is she, evaluating the numbers and all of that? Yeah. Sonia, please.
So I wanted to ask you, you brought up the fact that as part of developing the new and figuring out what to bring on, you were thinking about where's the opportunity now? How frequently do you go into that space? Is there a specific process or, mastermind group that you put together? How have you done that?
It's so interesting, Sonia. So do you mean like in terms of what we'll be offering in C-suite?
Yeah, well, you mentioned that that was a process that you went to, why you guys decided, okay, we were an event organization, now we're actually going to be a media company, and now we're actually going to be offering XYZ to create a flow. I was
Yes.
just curious whether there was a specific set of steps, individuals approach that you took to make that happen.
Yes. So this is fun. Okay, so right at the very beginning of COVID, if we all remember, the whole world is in a panic. Now, the fact of the matter is, those of us who have been through these things before, not necessarily a pandemic, but other crises, typically what's happening is on a normal business cycle, people are going through those kinds of crises in their business at all different times. With COVID, 2007, 2008, the tech bubble, those kinds of things, everybody's kind of going through a crisis at the same time. So it creates more noise. So as a leader, my approach is absolutely, okay, we are where we are. What do we need to do now? And I am not a fan of perfection. I think perfection is a killer of the good, to butcher that quote. But this is a time where we need to explore. And as a leader, you've got to create safety and comfort. So my thing with the team, and everybody was doing this in C-suite for a little while, is going like this with their hands. And we actually did build a diagram at one point, Kara and I, but the whole thing is, look, we've got to innovate like crazy right now. The world suddenly shut down the way that it was. And so now we've got to innovate like crazy. The challenge with innovating is things aren't going to be perfect. So my whole thing with my hands was, we need to try new things, try new things, try new things, try new things. But it's not like you get handed more resources when the world's falling apart. You don't. So the whole thing is, we need to try new things, try new things, try new things, and understand whatever doesn't work for us right now, great. It's not a failure. And I think that comfort level and security that what doesn't work is awesome that we discovered it. It might work another time for other reasons, but it doesn't work right now. So we're going to innovate, innovate, innovate like crazy. Now, the other thing is you have to keep your team together. So for the innovators, you need to understand that we need the solidifying operations team, all of the operations that would hold things steady as they could, right? No change, more predominantly. We need them to come in and fill in where it's like, okay, this piece did work. So we're going to fill in the operational gap with that team so that you can create appreciation for the ones that will innovate, because not everyone will on your team. And that's another whole thing, is the formula of who innovates on your team. For me, I've always been disruptive. I think in the most positive way. I always want to know what's next. How can we create opportunity around the challenges and what's being disrupted? So for me, I like to have about 3/4 of my team that is more innovative, more willing to take chances, more willing to put their neck on the line to try something new. I need 1/4 that aren't, because I don't want my team throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So those are your process people. Those are the people who solve problems before they happen, because the innovators are going like crazy saying this is heaven, right? So this is why I had people with their hands like this at pretty much every Celebrates and team meeting that we had internally as well. But that innovation, and when you think about it, the interesting thing is, we shouldn't have to wait until there's some kind of massive disruption or massive problem. This is an ongoing thing. And that's why I think to the formula of what my team needs to look like. Now, depending on what kind of leader you are, that formula or what industry you're in, et cetera, you might want to play with that formula. That formula might be a little too much, for some leaders. It might not be enough for some leaders, so that's something you need to kind of work on for yourself in terms of what makes sense. But the one thing I will say is, you do need to have a substantive strength and appreciation for in my case, the ones that aren't change agents, because if they don't feel appreciated, they won't speak up. If they don't feel valued, people will discard what they're sharing that could be a real problem as you're moving forward quickly. So they're your first discoverers of problems in the new that you want to be able to build and add into your offering. It's
Thank
not
you.
Sonia, but it's a big part of my, headset for the everyday and how we're moving forward.
Well, Tricia, Sonia, such a great question. And Tricia, you're also bringing up for all of us the opportunity for mentorship, coaching, and helping with teams and groups and cultural disruption in their culture, their business culture. I mean, hence we've got a lot of opportunity all the time, right? For all of this.
And Jeffrey will say nobody wakes up hoping to be stupid or hoping to, nobody wakes up with that. And I think for the most part, we all wake up wanting to make a difference, and so that's why, again, the pain points just create more poignancy around that. But you want that every day. I mean, Kara would be able to tell you, there's not a day where I'm not speaking to that inside of C-suite. And also with our whole, you'll see me in community events, we're a team. We're carving ground to make a difference. and offer something different where we are a collaborative group. We're not swiping out the needs of people who do what we do. We're helping to support and scale and build and see real success. And so you'll see me speaking to that all the time. And of course, the principles are that kind of organizing factor, the infrastructure of, and Kathy, I know, like, you've heard me say it a million times. It's like we get into a celebrates event and I'm like, okay, you're leaders in all different communities, but here what aligns us is our relevancy, reach, reciprocity, and respect. And that just sets the tone of this is who we are together. And I have to say, when you think about the breadth and the diversity of C-suite, which we're adding to every day, but we have 50% women in our membership, just saying. We're adding to it every day, though, and it's really something we really are proud of, and always trying to create the opportunity for all conversation. There is very little noise and very little that's inappropriate, ugly, drama, all of that kind of stuff. We have so little of it. And I really, truly believe that's the organizing principles of who we all are together.
Tricia, thank you. And we'll come over to Susan. Maybe you all did not know that Tricia Benn and I and two other of our wonderful early colleagues created the very first C-suite, Women in the C-suite event. And we had standing room only in Boston and San Francisco at a very early event. And because we saw, hey, that there were not women on the C-suite network stage. And we immediately, Tricia, locked arms. We locked arms right away. And you were C-suite Network's first sponsor, Tricia. And we saw an opportunity, and we didn't wait for someone else, looking around. I thought, well, let's do it, and it was a huge success. I look back on that event. I kept the notes, meticulous notes. It was a fire starter. It was so fantastic, hence where we are today. So yeah, so I think one of the big takeaways is for me today, Tricia, too, is, don't wait for others to get it going. Just sharpen our edge while we're sharpening,
Yeah, dive in. Yeah. And no matter what, and this is something I think, again, we all know as women, there's a double-edged sword, right? We're judged more harshly. The expectations are also higher. And so it can be very inviting not to put our head out there, not to put our neck on the line, because there's that extra bar, that extra, and then we add to it on top of it, being human. So I think creating that love and that leeway, look, it's going to get better every time. And as long as no one dies, we're moving things forward. And that can be a massive win. It doesn't have to be perfection to be a win. Again, that word perfection, I really detest that word. I'm trying to remove it from everything I aim for, say, use in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, we believe in imperfectly perfect, right? Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Susan did have her.
Yes.
So, Tricia, I have to give you kudos, because what I see you frequently doing is acknowledging everyone in the room. And frequently that is a very large room that it's surprising to those of us who are there how you manage to keep track of everyone, how you manage to stay in touch in a way that makes everybody seen and heard. It is a skill that few others share with you. And I think it's important for people to understand, how do you manage to do that while still making sure you can show up fresh and feeling supported yourself. There's that balance between giving too much to everyone and still being able to take care of you so you can lead the way you need to lead.
Thank you so much, Susan. Yeah, I get that. I get that comment about how do you remember everybody and how are you so connected? And all I can say is it's real love. Like, and you're not supposed to use the word love in business, but if I'm not in love, what am I doing? Our lifetime is short. It's finite. I just, to me, when with everybody I work with, everybody who's come on to C-suite, I I'm dedicated to their success, and and it's not perfect. Oh my goodness, I get things wrong. You know, I'll forget someone's last name, or or like completely miss them in an introduction. And I beg forgiveness, and of course then I make it up more, because there's just, we're scaling very, very rapidly, and you can have someone standing right in front of you. I think everybody's had this happen, right? They're standing right in front of you and somehow you didn't see them. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but mostly it's just that I really am so super dedicated to seeing great people succeed. And then the other piece of that, then the other piece of that in terms of myself is I'm very conscientious about what I'm eating, when I'm eating, sleep, and those conditions of satisfaction. So I have to be human in it all, or I'm going to be useless to everybody. So, and that's another whole thing, is my measure of usefulness. I am not holding myself to some ridiculous perfect metric. I think that's absolutely insane. And I know we've been all enculturated into that in some ways, and different things. I think it's nuts. So I'm not holding myself to that. I'm holding myself to, how do I stay healthy to deliver on the mission that I have promised to, and the people I love and care about, and how am I going to deliver on that? And so those things are a constant of my everyday. Today, Kathleen kindly briefed me, prepped with me, while I shoved half a sandwich in my face, because I knew I'd gotten to a point where if I didn't eat, I wasn't going to feel good. And, it's just this weird lunchtime time slot, and I had meetings before. So, half a sandwich, very healthy. And then I know I'm taking care of myself, that I can be here and be present and deliver, value. So that's part of everything. The other thing I would say in personal relationships that I think some of us are very mindful to this, but has been a lifesaver for me, is I'm very clear about what people can expect from me. And my children are no exception. And I think for women, frequently we have, whether it's children or significant others or spouses or parents, or, whatever it is, we get kind of sucked into, if we did everything, it still wouldn't be enough. And then beating ourselves up over it. And so I'm very clear, and obviously I haven't had all experiences. We all are going through different parts of our journeys and so on. But even with my children, I'm very clear with them. My mission is very clear, what I want to be able to do with my life and what I'm dedicated to, and it's my life. And they have their lives, and they need to discover what their mission is, and I'm here to support. But I am not going to live their lives, and I do not expect them to live my lives or my life. Maybe I have lives. Anyway, it's probably true, but anyway, I think that kind of clarity is, and I guess that's really the formation of how you're setting boundaries that work for you. That's really, I'm very conscientious of that. And I think with my children, especially because being 53 years old, a lot of, I'm right at that tipping point of the expectation of being able to have children or not have children, all of those kinds of things with the executive roles that I've had. So, and I watched my mother and my grandmother with children, and the things that played out for them in their success, and the different things that they accomplished and so on. So for me, I've been very, very conscientious about those boundaries.
Well, Tricia, fantastic. My gosh. So let's wrap up here. Woo! What a incredible program today. Thank you. And I'd love for us to complete our time with you and let's give some appreciation back to you. And so I just invite everyone, if you'd like to participate, and the appreciation I'd like to give to you, Tricia, is I appreciate you as a mentor, as a friend, as a colleague, as a powerful, powerful woman with a vision who's leading in how to have a strategic edge and a life you love. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll pass the baton to someone else about your appreciation for Tricia Benn.
I appreciate Tricia, because I've introduced now a couple of people to the C-suite, and it feels very good to say the CEO is a woman. And she therefore works with somebody who was, who is the CEO, who has it's like you have a strong balance between you and Jeffrey, because he's a powerhouse and he's a force of nature and he could take over. And I've seen you and him arrive at some kind of a balance, at least in terms of what I can see. And that takes, it's an interesting dance. Takes an interesting dance. So that's what I appreciate about you. And today I got from you about the conditions of satisfaction. I think it's important for us to have that and be clear about that on a daily basis.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Yeah, that is a really interesting navigation, right? The alpha male and the alpha female, and how you navigate that respectfully and to success and so on. And that's years of work. Like we've got structures like that we've developed that really work well for us. So for example, early on, when I first started stepping up into more of a CEO role, this is years ago now, this is the example I gave, and this might be useful when you're coaching, but this is my perfect example. I said to Jeff, and this was after multiple scenarios where I had made a request, then somebody had a conversation with Jeffrey, and it didn't get completed. And I find out hours, days, weeks later that my request was dropped and not done. And so I said to him when we had a sort of like a powwow on how we're going to handle this, I said, okay, here's what's happening is the team member is going to your office and they're saying, hey, Jeff, you're a smart guy. Do you want the mouse or the pencil? Right. And he's a smart guy. So he says, I want the mouse. It's worth at least $100, right? Maybe 50 used. But he says he wants the mouse. And what I said to them is, what they're not telling you is you need a pen to sign $1 million contract. And that's the problem, right? So this is, an issue always in terms of final decision making and who's owning the accountability of the deliverables of the success, right? Whatever those metrics are. So we developed language of who's the customer and who's the owner. Now, as the CEO, so fast forward many years, I'm the customer for the whole of the operations of the company and the team. Having said that, he's the chairman, and so he can override me if he chooses. Infrequently, very infrequently, he will choose to do that. Having said that, it gets a little more complicated. For Thought Counsel, for example, he's the customer because he owns the delivery of that mastermind or that counsel. So we do have like the ways that we're kind of like, we'll work through, okay, so my operations team is delivering logistics around this. You're the boss, you're the customer for that, So anyway, it's that framework though of the owner, the customer. And so as the customer, Kara's seeking my sign off, not Jeff's sign off, even if he asks, hey, when are we doing this? And that's been a much tougher thing for the team to navigate. But they've done an incredible job of it. And every time, frankly, when we have a new person come on board, it's like, you can ask those questions, but understand Jeffrey's not the customer for this particular project or initiative or whatever. So he may tell you something, but that doesn't mean I'm signed off on it and I'm responsible for the business. So we have to walk through those frameworks to help everybody operate successfully.
So know thy customer.
Yes.
Another nugget here. Yes. So
yeah, a framework, right? Otherwise,
that's it.
We're all smart enough to give a good answer.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Great. Good. Thank you, Tricia. Who else? Appreciation, because we're going to wrap up here in a moment. And I know you, Tricia, you told me, and Kara told me, you've got another meeting at the top of the hour. So yes, yeah. Let's do a part 2. We'll do a part 2. How's
Oh,
that?
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Jump in. Appreciation, acknowledgement for Tricia Benn.
Tricia, I appreciate you are a CEO, you're high up there, but you're very down to earth, very approachable. And for a young buck like me starting out, or young gazelle, excuse me, let me get my sexes right. Starting out, I appreciate that. You're an inspiration and approachable. Very important for those of us starting out. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Molly. You know, one thing I would say about that, one of my signature stories is just being useful. You know, that I grew up on a farm. You know this, Molly. Grew up on a farm, and there's only 3 states of being: useful, dead, and useful dead. You know, so my goal is simply to be useful, and I feel like in the C-suite, in the executive positions and ownership and so on, it's kind of like what we all know about teachers. If you have to make it sound complicated, you're not that good. You know, and so people who have to put on airs and act like they're really important, or that somehow they're blessing you with their presence, or they're better than you, are absolute frauds and liars. I one way or another, they might be lying to themselves, but the real is the real, and that's to be celebrated, not hidden, you know?
Very, very true. Very true. My goodness. So as we complete any other appreciation for Tricia Benn, and then we'll complete our program.
I just want to thank you, Trish, for everything that you do for women in leadership and supporting women to step up into leadership and in different kinds of leadership. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
And I will throw in, I yesterday spent the day with several of the Thought Council members at an event. And while we were there, one of the things we talked about is how much we recognize that you and Jeffrey do understand who plays what role when you are together and when you are with us. But we all said, but we know Tricia's got a great brain for business, and don't we just love that she's our CEO? So go girl.
So much, Steve.
Yes, yes. Well, sisters, thank you, thank you, thank you. Big thanks to you, Tricia Benn. What a fantastic event. Big shout out to all of the wonderful people watching and enjoying the replay. And we'll see you next Thursday. Got a program on how to be an AI empowered coach consultant. Don't miss it. And then Kathy Dirksen talking about what's next, create new possibilities. So we'll see you every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Same time, same Batwoman channel. Bye for now. We'll see you next Thursday. Thank you, Tricia. Bye-bye.
Thank you.